A group of strangers you have never met, wearing matching shirts, lost a game that changes nothing in your life, and you couldn't sleep that night. And the worst part is you know how that sounds. You are a functioning adult. You pay taxes. You make decisions. You have opinions about interest rates. And yet there is a specific moment. The ball hangs in the air. The whole stadium inhales. The shot is taken, where your heart is slamming so hard you can feel it in your throat. Your hands are shaking, and you are yelling instructions at a television, at a man who is 4,000 kilometers away and cannot hear you and does not know you exist. And when it goes in, you are hugging someone, sometimes a stranger you're now crying with, in a bar, at 2 in the afternoon. And when it doesn't go in, you go quiet, that particular quiet. You turn the TV off, and you sit there in a room that is suddenly too still, and there's a genuine weight in your chest, a real physical heaviness, and someone walks in and says, "It's just a game," and you want to throw something at them, because you know they're right. And being right is not helping, because whatever this feeling is, it is not being processed by the part of you that knows they're right. And then it gets stranger, because there's a city out there you have never visited. You don't know anyone who lives there. You have no opinion on their food, their weather, their politics, and you hate them. You feel actual heat in your chest about them. You have said things about people from that city that you would be genuinely ashamed to have played back to you. And if you sat down with one of them, if you actually met one at a barbecue without the shirt on, you'd probably like them. You know this. You know it right now, listening to me. And it changes absolutely nothing, because next Sunday, you'll feel exactly the same way all over again. So you've probably concluded the obvious thing about yourself, that this is stupid, that you're being childish, that it's a waste of emotional energy on something that produces nothing, and a well-adjusted person would care about it less. And every year, you tell yourself you're going to care about it less, and every year, you don't. Here's what I need you to sit with before you call yourself an idiot one more time. For 300,000 years, for 99% of the time our species has existed, knowing instantly who was yours and who wasn't was the single most valuable skill a human being could possess. It was not a hobby. It was the difference between eating and starving, between being defended and being left in the dark. Your brain does not have a category called recreational sports. It never built one. It has two categories, and it has had them for a very long time. And they are my people and not my people. And it sorts everything you will ever see into one of those two boxes in less time than it takes you to blink. You're not crying over a game. Your body has no idea it's a game. And by the end of this, I don't think you're going to feel stupid about it ever again. So let me take that feeling. You on your couch, devastated over 11 men in matching shirts. And let me take away everything that makes it look ridiculous. Take away the television. Take away the stadium, the league, the transfer fees, the merchandise, the idea that this is entertainment at all. Take away the shirt. Take away the walls of your house and the roof and the town, and put you on open ground 100,000 years ago at dusk in a group of maybe 30 people. That's it. That's everyone. 30 faces, and you know every single one of them, and every single one of them is the reason you are still breathing. Because here is the arithmetic of your ancestors' lives, and I want you to actually feel it, and not just hear it. You cannot survive alone. Not for a season. Not really. You are a soft, slow, clawless animal with a body that overheats, and a baby that takes 15 years to become useful. Alone, you are meat. The only thing standing between you and a very quick death is that group of 30. They share meat with you when your hunt fails. They watch the dark while you sleep. They carry you when your leg breaks, and a broken leg alone is a death sentence, and with them, it's 6 weeks of somebody else bringing you food. Your entire existence is a loan taken out against those 30 people. And now, the other half of that arithmetic. Over the next hill, there is another group. And they are not your 30. And in a hard season, when the water dries up and the herds move and there is not enough for everyone, they are the ones who take from you. Your ancestors did not live in a world where the stranger over the hill was an abstraction to be evaluated calmly on his individual merits. The stranger over the hill was the most dangerous thing on the landscape, more dangerous than the leopard, because the leopard didn't plan. So sit there in that dark for a second with your 30. Feel how badly you need them. Feel how completely your life depends on knowing, immediately, without thinking, which shape coming through the grass is one of yours and which one isn't. That is not tribalism as a moral failing. That is not a character flaw. That is the load-bearing wall of human survival, and it was installed in you across hundreds of thousands of years of exactly this, and nobody has taken it out. It's still there. It's holding up the building. It's just that these days, you point it at a football club. Now here's where it stops being a nice story and starts being genuinely uncomfortable, because you might be thinking, sure, but that was real. Real families, real stakes, real shared history. My team is arbitrary. I support them because my father did, or because I was born in the right postcode. Surely my brain can tell the difference between a real tribe and a fake one. It cannot. And we know that because of an experiment that has been quietly disturbing psychologists for 50 years. In 1971, a social psychologist named Henry Tajfel, working at the University of Bristol, ran a study designed to answer one question: what is the minimum you need to make human beings take sides? He wanted to find the floor. So he took schoolboys who already knew each other, and he sorted them into two groups on the most meaningless basis he could invent. In one version, they looked at a screen of dots and guessed how many there were, and were told they were overestimators or underestimators, a category that means nothing. In another, they were split by which abstract painter they preferred, Klee or Kandinsky. That's it. That's the entire tribe. No shared history, no competition, no conflict. They never even met the other group. The boys were kept separate and didn't know who was in which category. Then Tajfel gave each boy the job of handing out small sums of money to two other anonymous boys, identified only by a code number and a group label, one from his group, one from the other, and they favored their own, immediately, reliably, over a coin flip's worth of identity. But that's not the disturbing part. The disturbing part is what happened when Tajfel offered them a choice. He built the options so that a boy could give his own group the maximum possible amount, or he could give his group slightly less, but in a way that opened up a bigger gap between his group and the other one. Pure profit, or a wider margin. And again, they chose the margin. They gave up real money from their own side in order to make sure the other side got less. Winning wasn't enough. The gap was the point. Sit with that. There was no history. There was no rivalry. There was no reason. There was a label applied 10 minutes earlier about a painter they'd never heard of, and it was enough to make them pay a price to hurt strangers. Tajfel called it the minimal group paradigm, and the finding has been repeated for half a century across countries and ages and cultures, with categories as meaningless as a coin toss. So no, your brain cannot tell that your team is arbitrary. It doesn't check. It was never built to check, because for 300,000 years, there was never a single situation where us was fake. The category was always load-bearing, so the machinery just runs, and it runs on almost nothing. And a shirt color is vastly more than the minimum it requires. And once that switch is thrown, your body follows it all the way down with chemistry. Start with speed. Robert Sapolsky, the Stanford neuroscientist, spent a whole book on this. And the number that should bother you is this. When researchers flash a face from another group at someone too briefly for them to consciously register seeing anything at all. We're talking a fraction of a tenth of a second. The amygdala, that ancient threat alarm sitting in the middle of your brain, has already responded. Before you know, there was a face. Before you are involved at all. The sorting is done in the basement, and the memo arrives upstairs afterward. And by the time your rational, fair-minded, well-educated self gets a look at the situation, the categorizing has already happened, and your job is mostly to invent reasons for it. Then there's the chemistry of loyalty, and this one flipped what science thought it knew. Oxytocin, you've heard it called the cuddle hormone, the love molecule, the thing that floods a mother holding a newborn. Warm, fuzzy, universally good. Then Karsten de Dreux and his colleagues at the University of Amsterdam ran a series of studies, published in Science in 2010 and 2011, giving men oxytocin and putting them into group decision-making games. And yes, oxytocin made them more trusting, more cooperative, more self-sacrificing, more willing to protect, beautifully so, toward their own group. Toward the outgroup, it did nothing of the kind. If anything, it sharpened the line, making them quicker to defend against and devalue the others. It isn't a love drug, it's a loyalty drug. It is the chemical that draws the circle, and a circle, by definition, is a thing with an outside, which means the warmth you feel hugging a stranger in a bar because your team scored, and the coldness you feel toward the city over the hill are not two different systems having an argument inside you. They are one system, same molecule, same ancient circle. You cannot have the hug without the hatred hiding somewhere behind it, because they are the same instinct seen from the inside and the outside. And then there's the part that convinced me this isn't a metaphor at all. In 1998, two researchers, Paul Bernhardt and James Dabbs, took saliva samples from sports fans before and after a match, including Brazil versus Italy in the 1994 World Cup final. Not players, fans, men who sat and watched. And in the fans of the winning side, testosterone went up. In the fans of the losing side, it went down. Their endocrine systems responded as though they themselves had personally won or lost a physical contest for status. Their bodies were not spectating. Their bodies were in the fight. Because your hormonal system has no concept of watching. It only understands my group's standing just went up, or my group's standing just went down, and it adjusts you accordingly, exactly as it would have adjusted your ancestor after his group won or lost a confrontation over a waterhole. So when you say, it's just a game, your conscious mind means it. Your bloodstream has never once agreed with you, and that is the whole strange, sad, beautiful joke of being a modern human, isn't it? Because you were built to belong to 30 people who would have died for you. You were built for faces you'd known your entire life, for a group small enough that your absence would have been noticed within an hour. And then we built a world where you can go an entire week without anyone touching you, where you live surrounded by 2 million people and know the names of 4 of them, where your neighbors are strangers and your family is in another city, and the 30 people who were supposed to be your whole life are simply not there. The wiring didn't go anywhere. The need didn't shrink. We just stopped supplying it. So it goes looking. It finds the shirt. Because for 90 minutes you got to be what you actually are, a member of a group that wins and loses together. And then the whistle blew, and you had to go back to being a person who lives alone and answers emails. So no, you're not childish. You're not wasting your emotions. You are a creature with a 300,000-year-old need for belonging, living in a world that gives you almost nowhere to put it, and you found a place to put it. Your body did something intelligent. It found a tribe in a world that stopped handing them out. And knowing all this doesn't fix it, and it isn't supposed to. Next Sunday, your heart will still slam. You'll still yell at a man who can't hear you. You'll still feel that heat about a city you've never seen. And that part, the heat, is the part worth watching. Because that's the same instinct that has always been able to turn a stranger into an enemy over a coin flip. That's the one to keep an eye on. But the ache when they lose, the tears, the hugging a stranger in a bar at 2 in the afternoon, that's not a malfunction. That's a 300,000-year-old animal. sitting in a room by itself, finally getting to be part of something. It's the same creature that sat around the fire with its 30, knowing every face, needing every one of them. You just do it in a shirt now. You're still human.